What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be reviewing I Am Legend. Now, this is a film that I have a very unpopular opinion on. A lot of people do not like this movie. They thought the ending is weak, and they just thought the overall film wasn't that good. Now, I'm keeping in line with the post-apocalyptic theme that I've been going with on my channel, so that's why I'm reviewing this film. Last week I reviewed Train to Busan, this week I'm reviewing I Am Legend, and I think I'm gonna do Zombieland next week, but I'm not entirely sure. With all that out of the way, let's just jump into the review. I Am Legend tells the story of a man named Robert Neville, who is played by Will Smith, and he believes that he is the last man on Earth. This takes place 3 years after the cure for cancer was made, and little did that scientist know that that cure was actually going to turn everyone into, bloodthirsty zombies. So that's fun. And yeah, it's basically about Robert Neville, who is also a scientist. He's not the person who came up with the cure. He's basically the everyman character. He is like the last man on Earth, and he's still trying to make a cure for this thing that has turned everyone into zombies, basically. And I love this movie. I'm just gonna flat out say that. I am extremely comfortable with saying that I think this movie is masterful. I have a very small amount of issues with it. Yeah. So if that surprises you, well, I'm sorry, but that's the unpopular opinion I was talking about. I really don't understand why people don't like this movie more. I'm shocked at the low scores that it has. Alright, let's talk about Will Smith in this movie, because his performance has to carry this movie. Because he is almost, just about the only character in this film. So how is his performance? It's fantastic. I know that the Academy wasn't going to nominate anything for this movie because, it's a post-apocalyptic zombie movie and things like that. But Will Smith's performance in this movie is Oscar-worthy. I am not exaggerating here. There are scenes in this movie that require so much emotion and depth out of an actor, and Will Smith pulled it off. He's not just the charismatic funny guy like from Independence Day and Bad Boys, he can do a lot more. He has those dramatic chops, and he really shows it here. Also, the production design is amazing. You really do feel like the world is just destroyed. You really do feel like this guy is the last man on Earth. I should have mentioned this before, this film does take place in New York City after the apocalypse and everything like that, and he is the sole survivor, and you really do feel that sense of isolation, which is another thing. This film is not like a zombie action film. In fact, it's not an action film at all. There's a lot of suspenseful sequences, like creeping through hallways and flashlights and things like that, but really the core of this movie is the dramatic side of it. That sense of loneliness that one can feel when no humans are around. He does have this dog with him, and that makes for a great companion, but I think you get what I'm saying. It's something that I wish more post-apocalyptic things would explore, that sense of loneliness and how being alone for so long, what that could really do to a person. I do wish more post-apocalyptic movies would go into that, but I have I Am Legend, and I Am Legend does it, and it does it very, very well. Now, really the main criticism that I hear from people who don't like this movie very much is about the CGI. It's which never makes sense to me, because people are like, the CGI ruined the entire movie. Because there was some iffy CGI at the end of the film, now the entire film is a gigantic burning pile of garbage. What? That is, ridiculous. Are you kidding me right now? Plus, I rewatched this movie before doing this review, okay? In HD. In 1080p HD. And the CGI is nowhere near as bad as people have said, okay? Because these zombie-type creatures who really act a little bit more like vampires, they're called dark seekers. They don't enter the sunlight. They stay in the shadows, which is why at night, they all come running out and roam all throughout the city, and then during the day, they're all hiding in, dark abandoned buildings. Here's the thing. There is a lot of CGI for them towards the third act. They're completely CGI. And yes, while it's, pretty clear that it is CGI, it's not terrible CGI. I'm still convinced that the things are there, you know what I mean? I think that having a criticism with this movie, like the iffy CGI towards the third act, and then saying that the entire movie isn't that great because of it, I personally just think that's, I'm sorry, but I honestly think that's just stupid. Getting away from that, though, we're gonna go back into the positive side of things. Now, if you're wondering if I have a problem with it, no, because it's serviceable. Like, I still believe that these things are there. I still believe that there's a threat, so it doesn't downgrade it for me. It doesn't take me out of the movie or take me out of the emotional context. So no, I'm not going to downgrade it for that. Also, this film has one of the most overlooked movie scores that I've ever heard, and it was composed by one of the most overlooked and underrated composers out there, James Newton Howard. Now, if you're wondering what else has he done, well, he got nominated for an Oscar for his score for M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, which, say what you want about that movie, the score was incredible. And a lot of people think that Hans Zimmer was the one who composed all the music for the Dark Knight movies. It was him and James Newton Howard. James Newton Howard and Hans Zimmer teamed up to compose the scores for those films. And no one ever talks about that. James Newton Howard played a big part in composing the score for those films. James Newton Howard also did the scores for all of the Hunger Games films, which again, say what you want about the movies, but the scores are incredible. And this actually might be my favorite score that he has ever done. This score, I have listened to it so many times. There's an actual theme to this movie. Like an actual legit musical theme that makes me tear up just listening to it. I don't even have to watch the movie and hear the score in context. When I just listen to the score by itself, I actually start welling up. My eyes start getting red like that. It's just that good. Now here's another criticism that a lot of people have when they talk about this movie, the ending. For a lot of people, it makes or breaks the film, you know? Here's the thing. There is an alternate ending to this movie that I do prefer over the actual ending. But that is not to say that I don't like the actual ending that we got. In fact, I adore the actual ending that we got. That is probably the most unpopular opinion I have when it comes to this movie, because even people who like this movie still think that the ending is kind of bad. I was never able to get on board with that. I never understood why people didn't like the ending. Now, like I said, I do prefer the alternate ending, and no spoilers, obviously, but I still think that the actual ending that we got still works very well. Here's the thing, no spoilers, like I said, but Neville, yes, he didn't have to do what he did, but that's why it's so emotionally impactful. The fact that he would rather go that route than, you know, the other route, like, I'm really trying to avoid spoilers, but the fact that he would rather do that than the other thing, I'm being very vague, the fact that he would rather do that than the other option is extremely emotionally powerful to me, and if you actually start thinking about it, like, the movie ends and people are just like, what, that sucked, and they walk out without thinking about it. You gotta think about the backstory that you got about Robert, and, you know, all the various emotionally traumatizing things that happened to him throughout the film. You gotta bring that into the picture, and when you look at it through that context, the ending actually works very well and is extremely emotionally resonant. So guys, in the end, I Am Legend has incredible performances. It's actually my favorite Will Smith performance. Great production design, it really hits you in the feels, and some really, like, truly suspenseful, intense moments. It is a very well-directed film, and I personally don't agree with any of the criticisms that people often throw at it. So, as unpopular of an opinion as this is, I take no shame in giving I Am Legend an A+. So guys, what do you think of I Am Legend? Let me know down in the comments. Do you love it or do you hate it? It is a very divisive film. Obviously, I love it. I gave it the A+. Also, let me know some more post-apocalyptic movies that you would want me to review down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, guys. It really does mean a lot. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, keep writing, keep shooting, and keep editing.